everybody, to Fragtalks podcast. This is episode 6, I believe. We are joined by the coach of Minnesota ROKKR, Brian Saintt. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, for people who may not know your career, maybe do you want to just give us a backstory of kind of when you started playing Call of Duty, when you retired, and then, I mean, I know you like started being the coach for, I believe it was EU United was when you really started, but yeah, kind of give us a backstory of.
Yeah, is there like a link or anything for this I can tweet out first off?
It's not live. It's just,
that's not live. It's a pre-record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was a little curious about that. All right, yeah. But yeah. So basically, I've been invested in the competitive Call of Duty scene since COD 4. Kind of been playing then. I started, playing GBs pretty much since like the start of that game, and I kind of got it into Variant as COD 4 was dying out during like the later end of the second year. Yeah. So ever since then, I've really been invested in COD and esports as a whole. MW2 I didn't really enjoy, so I kind of ventured out into other esports, which kind of grew my love for just the scene as a whole. I competed in Gears, I competed in Halo, and I really just followed a whole plethora of games. And then kind of when Black Ops 1 came out, I started winning a lot of locals in the tri-state area, which is kind of where I got notoriety. I was going there with school friends and, beating all these pros like Fear Assassin, Twiz, JCap, Scump. And from there is where I really started to grow and develop as a player. And then MW3 came out, which was probably my best game ever. It's kind of unfortunate the game didn't have lands or anything like that, so I wasn't really able to grow and build myself to the caliber of player as I saw myself that year. And with Black Ops 2 coming out when I was a freshman in college, it was really hard to balance competing at the same time there, especially since I was living in a dorm where I red barred the vast majority of the time, so it was really hard to scrim and everything like that. So that year was kind of chalk for me for the most part. I kind of just showed up to events last minute with teams. And then Ghost came around. I did really well that year. Qualified for the Pro League twice. Didn't really get to play in it, though. And ever since then, it was really hard for me to balance both going to school full-time and competing full-time, as, it was the Ghost season when a lot of pros started taking time off school and pursuing as a full-time job. And it was just way too hard for me to balance both. And I kind of had to make that decision to stick with school. So I did that. MLG hired me as the lead observer during the IW season, which was my...
I had no idea. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was the one controlling all the cams for all the main stage matches at every event starting from Atlanta is when I started doing that, I believe.
Nice.
And then, I did that, and I feel like I learned a lot about the game and a coaching standpoint from doing that, because I was just sitting there looking at the mini map all day, every day. And I was kind of seeing who was making the impactful plays and who wasn't just, going out there and farming kills.
Yeah.
And then when World War II came out, EU United reached out to me early in the game, but, I was kind of set on giving competing one try since it was, my first opportunity to give it a full-time go. But trying to come back after being, out of competing for so long is just... it's really, really hard to get to a level of a standard that I hold myself to. So after placing like the top 48, top 32 range, back-to-back events, they told me the offer was still on the table. I instantly picked it up. And, I've been coaching ever since. I think I'm currently the longest tenured coach in COD. If Teep was still coaching, he'd have me beat by like one event. But right now I'm the longest standing coach.
Yeah, and you went from that United roster was kind of, I believe... You came on after Gunless was gone, I believe.
Yeah. Gunless left toward the later end of IW, so it was the roster with Clay from the get go.
Yeah, the World War II. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from that team, I mean, I think that really set like a point for your career, as in like that team was, I believe, at the beginning of the year was getting like 9, 16th, like they weren't placing like their top. No, sorry.
They were doing well.
Like 13th, 16th, and then 5, 6th, and then floating around there.
No, they had like 2 top 6s to start the year, but they choked both of them. They choked both of them pretty bad, and that really put the team in a bad spot. They were performing really, really horribly in the Pro League. They were 2-5 when I joined them, and we were able to finish out 5-2 right after I joined and qualify for playoffs at the last spot.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. How did it feel when you went from like being the observer to that coaching spot? What were like the big challenges in switching from kind of like that player mentality and then observing to being a coach?
I definitely enjoyed coaching a lot more than observing, because coaching I feel like is the second closest thing to competing. Still, every loss the team takes, you take it, just
Yeah,
as hard, and you still get that whole kind of the adrenaline rush of watching the matches,
yeah,
opposed to observing, where I was kind of just there controlling the cams. I was enjoying it as like a spectator. As a coach, you're definitely a lot more invested, a lot more stressed,
yeah.
and yeah, it was nice kind of getting that feeling again that was similar to playing in a sense.
All right. Well, let's fast forward to like the start of franchising. You in talks with Minnesota. How did that kind of change from, because you moved to the Midnight Esports for a little
Hmm.
while for the end of Black Ops 4. They were doing really good, and then the roster mania starts for the franchise season.
Yeah, it was definitely a really stressful off season for me there.
Yeah,
With how the second half of the Black Ops 4 season ended, I feel like if Midnight kind of lived up to their potential, I would have had a lot less stress, because we were performing really well going into champs. I think in the pro league with that new roster reformed with Royalty, Zap, Frosty, Haggy, and Llama, we went 3-1 in the pro league, and we were tied for the last spot of playoffs. I think
yeah,
we had like the sixth best record overall, but we were in the division that was a lot more cutthroat. So we lost a head to head to qualify for playoffs, due to like NV losing a round 11 game 5 against Rec.
yeah,
Like Rec was just winning all these game 5 round 11s, and and got that last spot. And then at playoffs, we played well too. We won our first match, and we lost to LG. So at that point, our only two losses with that roster were to LG, and I think our league match that we lost was against like 100T or something like that. So two really good teams.
yeah,
And then going into champs, the team looked really good in scrims. I think we were performing really well. We won our first match, and then we lost game 5 round 11 against Sicario, which was the reason we didn't make it at a pool play. Played a 100T really, really well as well. We won the game 1, and then I think we lost a really close S&D and kind of lost a lot of steam after that. But
yeah,
yeah, that team definitely didn't live up to their full potential. So going into the offseason with franchise, and it was a really stressful period. I kind of had some talks here and there. I had a brief talk with Florida because I was living there at the time.
yeah.
To maybe slot in there as a full-time GM and kind of hang up the coaching side of things, but
Right.
that wasn't what I was like super invested in. I was talking to Paris quite a bit before Minnesota reached out to me, but just after talking to Minnesota, I knew this was the place I wanted to be.
Yeah, they're a great group of people. So when it came to starting that first roster, I know that they were kind of in talks with players before they picked
Mm-hmm.
you up, and then kind of picked you, like kind of announced you guys all at the same time. But what was it like when you were like kind of given kind of like the outlay of what the roster was going to be before they grabbed you?
Yeah, so they signed that core three right before they
Yeah,
signed me, so I knew that was a group that I'd be able to get along with, and I felt like we could build something good there, as long as everyone kind of played up to their potential. And I didn't really have say in the first three. I didn't really
yeah,
talk to them at all at that point. And then rounding out the last two, the options were pretty limited for the most part. A lot of the big name players were all signed at that point, and we
yeah,
kind of had to do some digging deep to kind of figure out who would round out that roster well. We reached out to a few different players first initially, but we knew we wanted Alex from the get go. He was someone we were really interested in
yeah,
and felt like he had a high skill ceiling. So we went and got him. And then the last spot was a bit weird to fill out. We decided to go and take a chance on ASIM, who, broke out at the second half of the Black Ops 4 season, just kind of being thrown into the phase roster, from the get go.
yeah,
So, yeah, that's kind of how that roster formed.
yeah. And I mean, you guys did like throughout the season. You guys were doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a ROKKR fan, so I was following it closely. And on LAN, you guys were looking good. It was like every team that if you didn't beat them the next game or the next
Yeah, next time
the
we'd
next
beat them
LAN, you
then.
guys beat them then. So like you knew that there was a lot going on behind the scenes to like prepare for that team after you played them. And then like after the LAN stuff and COVID hit, you guys transferred to online. Do you know like, without like saying anything maybe that you can't say or whatever, but like
Mm-hmm.
what was the biggest challenge for that team going from LAN to online?
I think it was mostly mindset and mental. I mean, we definitely weren't playing the best from a connection standpoint. Our internet here isn't the greatest, so we were kind of at a disadvantage there. But I think everyone got in a really bad spot mentally with that switch. People were like really upset because three of them have never won before. Alex, ROKKR, and ASIM have never
Yeah.
won an event. And they felt like they were in such a good position to win that first event, even after we lost LA in the grand finals.
Yeah.
Like they felt so good about the team. And then when it was Swiss Online, a lot of people were really upset. They didn't take it, as seriously. And everyone's like, whatever, dude, it's just gonna be like a couple online events, and then we're gonna be back at LAN for the end of the season, and all's gonna
Yeah.
be well. And things didn't progress that way. I think COVID was a hard hit for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It was really rough for Alex, being stuck in a country away from his family, couldn't see his mom, couldn't see any of his family. So that was rough on
definitely
him.
be hard.
Justin had his whole wedding plan for this year, and then
Yeah.
his wedding inevitably ended up getting delayed for a year, but that wasn't even known until kind of like the later part of the season. So his whole wedding was just kind of in limbo, and
Right.
a lot of
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff piling on at the same time. That's
Yeah.
it's hard to deal with mentally.
Yeah, no, for sure. When you guys swapped out GodRx for Exceed, a lot of people were unsure of that move. With GodRx being what people were saying, like a slower AR, didn't match the meta of the game. Would Looking back at it, would you guys have still made that move? You think that was the right choice, or because a lot of people were saying, oh, they could have done the same with GodRx or whatever.
Yeah, I think it was without a doubt the right choice. I mean, inevitably we would have
Yeah.
done the same with him because we lost both our matches. But you can see by the way we were playing hardpoint so significantly better. Like
Yeah.
I don't think there was any point in the season prior where we had leads in hardpoint going into the second rotation. We were always clawing back even when we had him on the team.
Right.
And we were building up these leads in hardpoint. And every single hardpoint we lost, we absolutely threw it away within like the last few hills, and that was just all on us. So I think the team was just performing a lot better, but we just could not clutch up at all.
Yeah.
And the hard points come champs.
The clutch factor just wasn't there for those matches,
Mhm.
I guess. Yeah. Well, we're coming to like the end of that Minnesota season. This has been the craziest thing I've ever seen, from the 5v5 to the 4v4 we're going to. And like everybody was saying, I remember at the beginning of the first part of franchising, they're like, oh, players will be more secure in their jobs now because it's all through franchising and stuff. And it seems like that just with 4v4 went out the window. What was it? More than half the teams completely wiped their rosters.
It was insane.
So that's crazy for you. For you guys kind of got lucky. What was it like? How did you guys initially find the roster for this second season? Like, how did they come to you?
Yeah, no. Basically, from the start, we knew we didn't really want to lock anyone in and kind of be committed to building a roster around a single person from our former team.
Yeah.
We felt like we were really limiting ourselves on our options if we went that route. So we decided not to extend anyone's +1, but we let like a few players know that there could be a chance we go and re-sign them once we kind of weigh out all our options.
Right.
But we knew accuracy and attach were both really interested from the get-go, and we knew that if we wanted those two, we could go and get them. It was just a matter of how we could round out the roster.
Right.
And after weighing out a bunch of different options, we knew just getting the framework with them would kind of put us in a good spot from the get-go.
Yeah.
We knew Major Maniac was on the market. We were having some talks with him, and he just kept saying, I'm interested, but I really want to play with Preston still. That's like what I'm trying to do. And we were hearing that he was it was going to be like really, really hard to get him, but there was a shot if we just threw it out there. So last minute we were like, all right, let's just go. Let's just make this offer to him. Let's just go for it. So we reached out to him. Talks went pretty fast. We were able to get a deal sorted, and then that's the roster just came together, kind of all in the span of like a day and a half, 2 days.
Yeah, it was definitely when, like, just personally looking at when the free agents were going, a lot of people were keeping their subs and or their main AR, and it was like
Hmm.
you had all these like flex players, it seemed, that were being the players that were put out there. So it was interesting to see how a lot of these rosters were gonna form up, whether they were gonna grab some of like the younger players that like join the scene, like Vivid and all those players from LA Gorillas, or was it Proto and somebody from Surge? Anyway, the young players from those teams that people were curious of, like maybe they were gonna find bigger roles in other teams or whatever. Um, what as a coach, did it feel like, because of the past and how like different it's been through franchising, did you feel like your position was more secure than maybe the players?
Not entirely. Although I did sign a 2-year contract initially, I knew I wasn't like 100% safe because we didn't
Yeah,
finish out the season well at all. We went on like a 10-loss streak. Things were looking really bad. A lot of like outside circumstances did tie into that, but
yeah,
I wasn't feeling 100% confident when the year ended, but after having talks with management, making like a whole PowerPoint presentation deck of ways we can, go and shift the roster and stuff like that.
right.
At that point, they're like, okay, like we still want you guys here, like Jake and myself, and they're like, all right, let's build out a roster, and you guys will take full reins in that.
That's nice to hear for you guys, as being like kind of secured in your spot and then being able to
Hmm.
find the players to fit. Uh, do you think with the rumors of possible like a bubble or something happening for the 2021 season, what's your opinions on those?
I can't really comment on
Yeah,
something like that, but I will say it feels like it would be a really long time span. I don't know how they would be able to keep something up for as long as the COD season is.
yeah, that's true. It's not like the NBA or something where
Yeah, where they
people.
had it for what, like 2 months in like a Disney resort and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
yeah, no,
that's
that's
kind of my
fair.
only opinion.
Yeah, yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, well, that's what's it been like, because you moved, like you said, you were living in Florida. What's it like being in Minnesota now? I know it's COVID, so it's not like you guys are
Hmm.
like hardcore into the ROKKR training grounds or anything, or the headquarters that they built. What's it been like for that move, but then being at home and
Uh, it's been pretty nice. I've actually liked it out here. Although we're kind of living in the suburbs now, Jake and myself are moving more into the city in a few days. So definitely excited to get out there. Gonna have a lot more to do.
yeah,
I feel like I'll just enjoy Minnesota a lot more, being more in the Minneapolis area opposed to being over in Eagan, kind of in the suburbs, closer to the facility.
yeah,
So excited to get that done and dusted in a few days. Yeah, the weather's been really nice right now too. It's
yeah.
it's really nice just to be able to go outside, take a walk, and not be sweating my ass off like I
Oh
would be
yeah,
in Florida.
yeah. Were there any offers from other teams for coaching positions after that, after the previous year, or is there any like, were there any teams that were talked about that what wasn't the team that Minnesota got? Like players that were maybe interested that didn't didn't end up working out.
Yeah, a few players reached out to a bunch of different players reached out to us this offseason, especially because a lot of people didn't really know what they were doing.
Yeah,
But whenever a player reached out to us, we're like, okay, tell us who you want to play with, get like a roster on paper, and then bring a roster to us. Like, we don't
right.
want to go and sign like player by player and get like a mixed bag team.
Yeah,
So that's kind of why we ended up with the roster that we have now. It was, people that all want to play with each other, and I think it was like the 4 best players in the market as well.
yeah, I agree. It was definitely a big pickup. I know Reddit was being savage when the roster got announced, saying like, "Oh, like attach and people like deserve better roles," but it's like you're playing with some of the best players in the world,
Hmm.
and they were all top. Well, two of them were on the top three team of last year, and the other two were had a slow start, but then picked it up at the end of
Yeah.
the year. I don't know. People are savage when it comes to roster
Yeah,
mania.
people have a really big recency bias when it comes to roles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Dylan and Preston have both been extremely versatile throughout their careers, and if you kind of look at the games when they, were playing the best from an individual standpoint, they were the subs on those teams. Dylan won a world championship being the main sub in AW, which is one of the fastest call Ds of all time. Preston in Black Ops 4 when 100T was winning. Like, if you watch his gameplay, this guy is sliding all over the place with the saw, going crazy, grappling in. And, you know, they're just so versatile and willing to fill any role that the team needs. So that's kind of why they were forced into those flex roles with a lot of their prior rosters. But I think everyone's really comfortable being slotted in the roles that they are on this team. And, you know, once the game comes out, I think we're going to be really good off the start.
Did you play the beta or the alpha, I guess?
Yeah, I was playing it quite a bit. I have some gripes. I mean, it's going to be a little buggy inevitably since it's an alpha. But I think we are in a really good place with the game modes, having search, hardpoint, and control.
Yeah, as long
as we get some really good maps, I think the game will be in a good spot.
Yeah, well, I personally really liked Moscow. I thought it was going to be a fun map. I couldn't wait to play S&D on it. What was your take on the 3 maps kind of that we had?
Miami, hate it.
Yeah.
That map is horrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
Satellite's a good pub map. I had a lot of fun playing that map in pubs. It grew on me a little bit.
I heard that a lot. Yeah, me too.
I know Moscow has potential for competitive. I think S&D could play well on it. My only issues with that map are I feel like there's a lot of unnecessary spaces in the map on like the back each of the back sides. I feel like they could have trimmed the map down a little bit and condensed it a bit. But I do think that map has potential to be a good competitive map, you know, once we play the game and it fleshes out a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. What was your favorite gun of the beta?
Definitely the AK-74, a bit overpowered in the alpha. But it was fun using that gun. Excited to see all the guns come full release and, you know, get a much better look at the game when the beta comes out soon.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed the Type 63. It was fun. I was using that on the satellite.
I don't think that gun will be in competitive. That gun will be insane in S&D if it.
That's what I thought too. But it was fun to use in the pubs and satellite when everybody's sniping and you just pull out the Type 63.
Just like 1 bullet, 2 bullet them.
Yeah, as they're hiding in the dunes. Man. Yeah, well, I mean, not very much else to say. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Any comments to look forward to for the upcoming year? You're excited?
Yeah, I'm really, really excited for this upcoming year. I think all these players that we have carry themselves with such a great work ethic and mindset. And it's just going to be constant progress from the get-go. Everyone's goal is to win, and, you know, everyone's going to be putting in that extra work. We're going to be going over VOD every day, kind of after we learn the game, inevitably. Yeah. But feeling really good. Thank you to all the ROKKR fans out there. We're going to be putting out a lot more content, as, you know, all these guys, especially Dylan and Preston, like being on camera.
Yeah. Was it Preston's been on TikTok grind? Do you think he hit 1 mil or something? He was tweeting or something. Yeah, something like that.
I did not see that, but yeah, I know he's been crushing it with his stream too. Kind of always sitting at like 1K viewers for the most part. Has a good amount of subs. Same with Dill. They both been killing it with their streams. So really excited to get the season going. I think fans will have a lot to be excited about, and, you know, just want to thank everyone for their continued support. It kind of sucks not having any returning players, but I think this is a group of guys here that, you know, are going to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was one of those things where it's like, as a fan, and you're like trying to grow to care about the players in the first year, and not to see them come back sucks, and you wish them well in the teams wherever they end up. But to see the roster that's put together for this next year being 4v4 and like their resumes from past years, including the one that just went, you can't be upset about the roster.
It's a ton of consistency.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I know it's shorter. It's not an hour. Nothing exciting. It was a lot of just talking about past, talking about what's coming. Thank you for joining me, Brian. Really appreciate you. Yeah, I wish you guys luck.
Thank you for having me out, man.
All right.
Thank you, ROKKR. Thank you, John Wolf. Thank you, Brett Diamond. Thank you, Brian Cargo.
Ashley Midnight, everybody.
Ashley Midnight. Yeah, everyone at ROKKR.
Alrighty, guys.